Hi folks, back again. I just finished up 72 where I was quitting. However, I must have one more post, and this is going to be part 2 of number 36. Number 36, excuse me, I posted, actually it's right here, November 9th, 2009, and I was talking about the ADE 651, which is a bogus so-called bomb sniffing device. Ironically, out of all the views, number 36 has gotten the most, and just over the last few days, boy, I don't have a lot of posts on or a lot of views on any of mine, but I'm up to 235, and it just seems like almost overnight this thing really skyrocketed. And also I had one gentleman who wrote me a fairly lengthy comment, which I appreciate that. And I had a couple of other comments on it also. Maybe the catalyst for this was that the person who started all this, who is selling this stuff, who owns the company, his name is Jim McCormick. And dang, I always forget this watch. His name is Jim McCormick, and he used to be in the United States, it's my understanding. He's now headquartered or whatever. His company is in England. And he was recently arrested over the past couple of days or so. Now you'll read different figures, but one figure is that Iraq and other Mideast countries spent, I think this was even Iraq, spent $80 million on these bogus devices. Basically, it's a plastic box with a little antenna thing sticking out, and essentially it's supposed to work like dowsing. You know, like years and years ago, those people would come to town and they would say they'd find oil or find water or find whatever. They have a willow stick or something. Well, that's really what it is. It's supposed to work off of the person's static electricity, or just some kind of bizarre stuff. And anyway, he was arrested. He's out, of course, on bond or bail or whatever it's called in England. And something he was arrested, and the charge was fraud by misrepresentation. You would say to yourself, how in the hell in 2010 could some guy get by with selling this thing? It's my understanding it's basically an empty plastic box. I don't think there are any movable parts or anything in it. And I could be wrong on this, but I think there were these little gizmo cards you would slide in there so you could detect different kinds of things, like maybe bombs or drugs or whatever. Could be wrong on that one, but I know there's some little card thing you stick in there. Ironically, when this was tested, they found that the little card thing that you stick in is, in essence, I think, what department stores use or retail merchandisers use to find out, like if someone's stealing something. You know, a little gizmo they stick on there, and if you go out the door before it's been, you know, put on the scanner gizmo, it has an alarm. Supposedly that's what it is. That's the only thing it is, and of course, you know, of course it doesn't work. Now, by the way, those of you who have an interest in this, there's a fascinating tape at James Randi's place, and that's Randi, RANDI.org. If you go there, like right now, it'll be on the front page as you get there. Otherwise, you know, thumb down a couple of days and you'll find it. And seemingly James Randi was the first person who actually alerted, for lack of a better word, our government, meaning the government of the United States, because this fellow, as I understand it, was over in the United States making these things and trying to sell them. And this was back in the, could be wrong, I think mid-90s or something. So this guy's been out there for all of these years and nothing has happened to him yet. And you might say, well, how in the hell can that happen? Well, it's a good question. By the way, if I remember, I'm going to put James Randi's address, you know, next to the little the video thing where you have, you know, the text. But what I would like to do is, excuse me, you know, we wonder how something like this can happen. Now, maybe you all have heard of this. The Men Who Stare at Goats, John Ronson. I bought this book about a year or so ago, and it's almost unbelievable. I mean, you would say that this could not happen, but this fellow, seemingly from what I can find on the internet, is a legitimate journalist. And I think one of the first things, no, I haven't finished it yet. I think one of the first things he states in the book is, in fact it is, on page 1, it says, the first sentence is, "This is a true story." There it is, Men Who Stare at Goats. For those of you who go to movies, this movie came out, I think, a couple of months ago in the U.S., and I think it's starring George Clooney and, oh, who's this other fellow? Oh, I can't remember. Bridges? Somebody Bridges? Oh, anyway. Now, so you think this is wacky with the people walking around with an empty plastic box and an antenna on it. Seemingly, if this book is true, and he says it is, I'm almost embarrassed by it being true. But our government was trying to figure out ways that people could walk through walls and who could, like, I guess, kill people by staring at them. And all this psychic crap and everything else. This is our government. No telling how many millions of dollars we spent on that. So, in the overall scheme of things, this empty box that the fellow claims it detects bombs, you know, maybe isn't quite that bizarre when our own government was spending most likely millions, I'm sure, on trying to figure out, you know, how to walk through walls. So, I guess that's about it for that. But the James Randi site is kind of cool. I had a segment on the site one time. He is most likely 80, 81 years old now. He is a magician. He hasn't practiced, so to speak, on stage or anything in many, many, many years. And he's basically devoted the last 30 or 40 years of you know, of testing all of these, you know, outrageous claims that people have about ESP and psychics and astrology and energy healing and everything else. And he has a okay, I'll be right back.